What time is it?
Yeah.
Recording in progress. Thank you. Excellent. All right, we'll get started here in a second. But
No more curse words.
No more. Yes, please. I do like the conversation. So it feels like this is going to be an education in more than just cyber security. I don't know. My presentation's asking me to give subtitles a try. Do not turn that on. Okay, welcome. Well, welcome everybody. It is good to see you. As I mentioned a few people earlier, it's only been a few hours. So I was the skeleton last night at Net Night. We had a really good turnout. Excuse me. So I know that quite a few people are excited to get the recording. I know we've got some more people that'll probably be joining us, but let's get started so that we could give Craig our full attention and actually Q&A. I love this, the opportunity, excuse me, to ask questions of our presenters. So how to protect yourself from business and your business from cybersecurity. And we've got a whole bunch of definitions because everybody utilizes different terms. And like I said, I really hope this is going to be engaging and a discussion. So for those of you that may not be familiar, I am Angela Inzerillo. I am the chairman of the Inkspire 501c3 Education Foundation of the Reston Chamber. The Education Foundation is the umbrella of the two programs within the Chamber called Business Education, which we are doing this morning, as well as our BizMaker grant program, which I'll share a little bit more about. But the Business Education, we're here, we do one program webinar per month on the second or fourth Wednesday at this time slot. We record them now. We have gone virtual. We used to be in person for many, many years. We started doing these programming just over 10 years ago, actually going on 11 years. If you're interested in learning more about presenting or topics or anything with education series, reach out to myself or Carrie Pulliam with the Chamber. You could also check out some information on Reston Chamber. You can see the website link there. Business education series. A new program that we kicked off last year was called the BizMaker Grant Program. So for Fairfax County businesses, innovative organizations could apply. We awarded 3 grants, 15,000, 10,000, and 5,000. Oh, actually, I forgot the little M in there. Not only was it a capital that was awarded, but we also awarded mentoring for all of the winners. So it was really a fantastic program. The winners are there. They were each assigned a case manager, who signed them up with mentors, and we really tried to focus the dollars on a specific initiative within their organization so that we can track it and see the success of that program. So we just actually are kicking off our 2022-2023 program for BizMaker grant. So I know I checked it yesterday, so don't hold me to it, but inkspire.net is going to our new landing page that's got the application. I just know we were in the middle of transitioning. So if it's not working, keep checking or certainly reach out to me or the Chamber. But Fairfax County businesses, if you're startup, if you're early stage, even if you're growing and you've got an innovative product, you're a business in Fairfax County, highly, highly recommend you apply. We'd love to have your application. So again, any questions, feel free. I'll put my contact information in the chat. Reach out to myself or the Chamber. We couldn't be here without our fabulous series sponsors. So I like to recognize the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, as well as Miller Musmar CBAs. Our CPA friends are finally getting a little bit of a break after the lovely tax season. And the EDA, if you're not familiar, they're the marketing arm for Fairfax County. They're a great resource for information about businesses coming into the county. And they're really working a collaborative program right now called workinginnorthernvirginia.com. There's over 50,000 jobs in the county alone. So look at that resource as well. Again, the website's there, but workinnorthernvirginia.com. So thank you to our sponsors. I love to give them a little bit of applause. Upcoming events. Okay, you would think it's coming towards the end of the year, right? Fall, everyone's got their pumpkins, and I can't go into Costco without seeing Christmas stuff, but the Chamber is full. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. We love bringing big scissors, right, to ribbon cutting. So we've got 2 this week, if you're interested. Our chairman of the board, Kevin Taylor at Analytic Marketing is doing ribbon cutting this evening. Those guys are located in Sterling. We're going to cut the ribbon and then we're going over to, what's it called? I just said it earlier. What's the restaurant? Anyone know?
Crooked Run.
Crooked Run, thank you. And for some beer tasting. And then our new members who are opening up in North Point, Stretch Zone, the latest technology in feeling better and taking care of our health. Very excited to meet these guys. They are a franchise and they are opening up in North Point. So they're doing a ribbon cutting on the 28th on Friday. If you're not familiar, most of our councils and committees do events throughout the year. So our EP, emerging professionals, they changed. They were young professional. Now it's emerging. They are doing a second annual Thrive at Work through DISC. So if you're not familiar with the DISC program, it is actually Karen Cleveland with Leadership Fairfax is going to be facilitating that. So it's a great assessment, personal assessment about behavior that they're going to be working on. And that's on the 2nd of November. All the times and locations are on the website, guys. So just check out events on the website and you'll see all this. Our resourceful women.
Angela, can I interrupt you?
Yes, ma'am.
The emerging professionals event, are you encouraging non-emerging professionals to attend?
We always encourage. Yes, I don't know. I'm going to call us seasoned professionals. I don't know. I'm going to create a new council or something like that. Yeah, the seasoned professional. You actually can. So Craig, I'm going to encourage you. I know you're close to an emerging professional, but if you've never done DISC, you should. So yes. Alicia, that is open to everybody. So I would highly recommend that if you haven't done it. It's just a really nice.
I'm thinking it's like a chrysalis here, like this emerging professional. So then the rest of us are just kind of like walking on the shards of our shells or something.
Could be. I don't know. We're going with it. We're going with it this year. And then again, a very busy November. Resourceful Women, our fabulous resourceful women of Reston. Our council is doing a program called Wealthy Women. So about your financial and family wealth, they've got a panel of experts, a really, really good panel of ladies that are going to be speaking about more about your, not just wealth, but how it contributes to your health and your family. Because there's bigger definition to wealth than just money, right? So being healthy is also valuable in our lives. Chamber 101, if you guys haven't been, so if you're a new member, or you are someone who wants to just learn what's going on at the chamber, get an update, or you've got employees within your organization, Chamber 101 is a fantastic opportunity to meet fellow members as well as the chamber. It's very casual. So it's not really a formal presentation, but it is an environment where you can learn more about the chamber and how to get engaged and more involved. One of my favorite board net nights of the year is called Meet the Board Night in November. And our friends at John Marshall Bank, who always throw a good party, will be sponsoring that. The Chamber's network nights are always the 4th Tuesday of the month, but for November and December, due to the holidays, they're a week earlier. So mark your calendar for November 15th, Meet the Board Night. So we've got, I don't know, close to 40 board members. And a good part of them usually make it out there. So it's a great opportunity to meet the leadership of this organization. And like I said, another council, GovCon, they are doing avoiding the common pitfalls, ins and outs of joint ventures. So during their meeting time, they're having, I think they've got Joey Musmar, who's one of the members of the group. And another gentleman who's part of the group that are going to be speaking about joint ventures. So if that's your world, especially in the GovCon space, I highly recommend attending that. And that's just like attending their committee meeting. So check out the details of that. I think it's in the morning on the 7th. And then December, we'll do another Chamber 101. So if you missed the one in November, check out December. A great opportunity again for you and your peeps, your colleagues, folks that you meet. And we highly recommend that as you're out in the community and you're a member of the chamber, highly recommend you invite folks as your guest. We're happy to engage and share more about how the chamber can do business with you and for you. And then just check the calendar, as I mentioned earlier, monthly committee meetings, council, lead share meetings. And if you're already not getting the chamber's weekly emails, it's a weekly newsletter that comes in your inbox. let us know so we can get you on the list, because that's always showing upcoming events and you want to make sure that you're getting that. All right. Get the
Am I
party
backwards or
started.
forwards?
What? Pardon? What? What
Um,
is Craig saying?
is my background backwards?
Oh,
or forwards?
you're forward. You're good. No, that's good. I like it.
Okay.
All right. Before we get started, this is opportunity to network as well. So just put your name in the chat. I'll put my information in case you want to reach out to me. This is, guys, I'm going to unshare Craig and then you could share. Stop share. This is meant to be engaging and informal. So like I said, raise your hand, but I'll be interrupting Craig as we go. If you've got any questions, like I said, throw it in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat. Feel free to raise your hand if it's more than just, chat worthy, and we'll get it answered. So without any further ado, Mr. Craig, TeamLogic IT of Reston and Tysons.
Oh, we got to let Vladimir, he made it to the office. He found a camera.
There we go. There we go.
Uh,
All right, Craig, you are up.
All right. So hello. Thanks for coming, everybody. Angela, thanks for nagging me and pushing me to do this, prompting me to get this through over the line. Yeah, it's a
You
bad
didn't
term.
mean that.
But yeah, I spent a year last year thinking about different topics I could talk on. And this one is much more direct than the complicated return to office theme that I had before that never really happened. So I'm glad to be doing this. What we do is we manage IT support for small to medium businesses. So 10 to 150 employees, generally local focus. So Northern Virginia, I work out of Herndon. We serve Sterling, Reston, Fairfax, Tysons, Lorton, the DMV. Think of us as a help desk for your small business like that you would have had back in the day when you worked for an enterprise, but now you're in a smaller company. You still support for your computers. People like Mickey are doing updates on their laptops and realizing that if they wait too long, it takes a long time. So, that's what we're good at doing, is keeping these things running for you. There's a whole broad wealth of services that we can provide. So I don't want to get too long into that one. We're going to talk about today. Digital risk. So that's a different way of talking about cybersecurity, why we should be concerned. I got a little topic called stupid human tricks that'll be interesting. And then what we can do to mitigate this stuff. And maybe if we get some time, we'll talk about cybersecurity insurance. This is by no means the definitive talk on everything cybersecurity up and down through all channels and all enterprises and all businesses. It's going to be more focused on the kind of customers I work with, these smaller businesses that, they still are exposed, they still have risk, but, it's not like they can pay, a white hat hacker to be patrolling their premises all day long. So, it's a huge topic with lots of opportunities for business for everybody. So we've got some terms we want to think about: multi-factor, two-factor authentication, ransomware, phishing, business email compromise, spam, the good old friend, and then digital risk. So I'm going to jump right over. I got some slides for each of these, I hope. So first
If
off,
there's any other terms, Craig, people throw them out, because we want to make sure we're covering them, right?
Yep. So Rand did a study last year on cybercrime and then compared it to COVID. So basically, we lost more money in cybercrime last year than we did to COVID. And that's kind of like one of those, it's happening in the background. We had a disaster that was COVID. And meanwhile, in the background, we had an even bigger disaster that was cybercrime. And that's people, locking computers up and then doing the ransomware on them, or stealing corporate information from the back so that now that they can use it for competitive advantage. Just all lost time and productivity, just a whole range of impacts that just kind of happen in the background. Wow, I keep on trying to hit my slides and they don't go. So when we talk about cyber risk, we've got financial loss, disruption of operations, legal liability issues. So if you're a doctor, and this happened to another colleague of mine, they had a client that was a doctor, their office was ransomware. They paid a couple of $1 million in Bitcoin to get their business back online. The man was unable to send his child to college of their choice, and his regulatory agency came in and investigated him for HIPAA violations. So it was like not just, did you have to pay that ransom, but there were just a cascade of effects that rolled on top of them, right? So then this is damage reputation, third party risk that it then ensues. It just, there's a whole range of problems that you kind of don't see when you think about the headline. Oh, they paid a $10 million Bitcoin. And how do you get $10 million of Bitcoin? So ransomware works as a service nowadays. So you go to a website, you can agree to pay somebody a 10% commission on everything that you get off of their tool set. They will then help you deploy those tool sets. You give a list of targets, they'll work with you, and then they provide customer support services to either the hacker or the target customer trying to resolve how to pay the fines. So this is not just like, silly little kids in the back room wearing the hoodies. These are people with an industry that's built around this stuff. And not only are they in industry, but they're often corporate state actors. So, they are working for the Russians or they are working for the Chinese government. And, one of the big, I'll jump on that again, but one of the big ones was that Sony hack 5 years ago, where the North Koreans hacked Sony's archive of data and leaked it out because they were mad about Sony making a movie that made fun of Kim Jong-un. This really happens. So, it's serious business. Those are huge targets, but I've spoken to a guy that runs a car dealership in Fairfax County that had his computers ransomware, had to pay the fine. And that's just a tiny little guy, maybe $10,000, but he was locked out of business for, weeks.
Craig, would you say it's easier for those guys to hack smaller companies, right?
Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah.
less, I don't know, I don't want to say less in tune, but we think,
Yeah,
oh, they don't want our stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of a game that you do in numbers, right? Because you're just going to send all these, you're going to send links, you're going to send emails to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And maybe, 0.1% respond. And that's enough to get you some money. Right.
Right.
And if you're lucky, yeah, sure, you stumble into a big school system or you drop into a bigger target and then you've got more possibilities. But, a whole bunch of, we all are small businesses. A whole bunch of $1,000 clients add up over at the end of the day, right? Yeah, sure, it'd be great to have $100,000 client, but if I have to get $100,000 clients, it's the same effect, right? So phishing is when you get an email that looks sort of legitimate, but it's trying to get you to follow a link, and typically the link will download and install some software on your computer. I mean, this is pretty much standard stuff nowadays. And so, all the things you want to look for. Thank God they haven't figured out that we know, bad grammar, strange subject lines, all of the little tips that we all know to look for at this point. I hope you know. So, a domain name that doesn't look right? So that's not really PayPal, right? Strange content, bad grammar. If you look at the link, it's not the same as that domain name, right? So you have to do all of this work. And unfortunately, we have to do all this work, even if we've got other tools built into our network and our computers to watch out for some of the obvious stuff, right? So Microsoft catches a lot of these, but sometimes they slip through, right? This leads to what we call business email compromise, BEC. And that's where someone figures out some patterns in your company's email addresses or email systems, and they use them against you. So maybe they figured out that your company uses first name dot last name at email domain, right? So then they'll try to fake that email address and send it to someone on the staff to try to try to get them to fall for a trick. Or they'll do the one where this is the CEO, I'm stuck in a conference in San Francisco and I need you to wire $1,000 to me right now, right? And if they send it to the right person who's maybe a new employee or they, feels a little insecure in the business, they might fall for that game, right? So this happens a lot, and we see these in conversations with our employees a lot, with our clients, I mean. Yeah, my slides are a little out of order, but yeah, these hackers are international characters working overseas, targeting American customers because we're wealthy. We're easy to get to. So that's just the nature of the world right now. It's all interconnected. Yay, we can go anywhere, but the criminals can go as well.
So Craig, but
Um,
you would say cybercrime is still international. I mean, I know they're targeting Americans, but they're targeting everybody, right?
they're targeting
Oh,
everybody.
okay. Yeah.
Although this is one of the things that's come out is the guys that are based in Russia will not attack Russian targets because the Kremlin is a little
Yeah.
more aggressive and they're able to get them because they're local, right?
Right.
So one of the games that people have tried doing is if you buy a Russian keyboard and plug it into your computer, when they go scanning your computer, it sees this Russian typing and they will sometimes avoid you.
Wow.
Yeah, of course, then you've got to type in Russian, which is,
That's a problem.
that could be a trick.
Translation. It'd be good for Vladimir.
So,
No.
yeah. So this is and as I said, this is really high level conversation here. We can go very far in depth on here. If we talk to DoD specialists, it's just a completely different game, right? But a lot of what's happens is phishing, right? So you think of ransomware and cyber attacks. You see the guy in the back room typing on his computer furiously, and it's a dark room, and he's in streams of characters. That's not really what's going on for the most part. That's this hacking brute force attacks over here on this slide. What's really going on is sending out email and getting people to click on links. So, and then okay. I don't know how we're doing for time. I'm kind of going through this fast, but what I'm talking about, stupid human tricks. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things I've seen in the field. Okay. Pretty much almost always it's an email. Someone will call me and they say, I got this email in my inbox. It's asking for us to approve this invoice request. What should I do about that? And I'm like, well, it's definitely a fraud, right? It looks weird. It sounds strange. I have a person I've spoken with who paid one of those false invoice scams. It was $100,000 bill.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, the way you solve for that particular issue is you need two controls on money disbursements, right? So don't let any one person be the person who approves and writes large checks. So I've got a client that has that down pat. There's just no way that a false invoice is going to get out of that business because two people are going to look at it and one of them is super, super suspicious about everything that crosses his inbox, right? I have another client who got the $1,000. Actually, the client that I'm telling you about that is super suspicious, they're super suspicious because they fell for the $1,000 in gift card requests. When someone said, I'm stuck over here at a conference, I want to do gifts for everybody at the show. Please go buy $1,000 worth of gift cards for Google Play Store, in $10, $100 denominations, and send me them in links in email, and then I can hand them out. Well, they did, and it turned out that was a fraud. And that company learned from their mistake, which is the other big issue here. You need to know to learn from your mistakes, right? We need to keep on learning and keep on improving what we are doing, right? And the last one is no legitimate vendor or a service will ever ask for your password, okay? And we get this one constantly on our inboxes is Microsoft sent me an email. They want me to re-enter my password on this website that they sent me a link to. Do not do that, okay? They're not going to ask you for your password. The only thing that's going to prompt you to be on your re-enter a password is the service itself. So Outlook or, Excel maybe, or office.com, but do not, if you see a link that doesn't make sense, don't touch it.
So Craig, I'm going to inject a quick question. First of all, if anyone's got any other stupid human tricks, you could say somebody else did it, even if you did it. I was just going to say, with us being predominantly a lot more on our phones, right? So I'm thinking, what other types of, I don't want to say scams, but do they target? I've been getting a lot more text messages, right? that are they
Right.
likely scams too?
Yeah. So the way the text message scams and there's a whole other set of words like vishing
Yep.
which is about Bluetooth. What they're trying to do again is it's going to be you clicking on a link that's going to take you to a site that's going to harvest some amount of information off of your account or your phone or by you interacting with the page that will then be useful for another purpose, right? And so one of the big ones is if people figure out the patterns that you use for passwords, because some people use the same password patterns over and over and over again, or they figure out how your business's email addresses are structured, then they know they have an angle for how to build another layer of an attack, right? So it often takes a lot of work on their part, just like when we spend a lot of time building up a lead list and then trying to figure out how to get a hold of those people and then figuring out angles to have a conversation with those people. They're doing it on the opposite version of this, trying to figure out enough information and enough angles and enough directions to give them guidance on how to launch and deploy an effective attack against you, right? And a lot of times we'll see where someone's been like logged into an email address remotely for months, waiting around to see something that might be of interest and of value to them. And then they'll work on it at that point, right? Which leads me, I'm not sure where we're at on the deck because I've just gone, I've gone conversational.
That's fine.
Yeah. So this is the thought that call your employees the bad guys, but they're definitely a weak link for yourself, right? So they accidentally, let something loose or they maliciously break something. And what you need to do is try to to tighten up control of access of what people can get to so that that if they, something goes off the rails, then you're not exposed to everything being destroyed by your company or released by your company. Right? Because this stuff moves fast once they start getting into it. So
could you highlight that on that one slide before about backup? I know I had heard of a story about someone, the usual, like UPS, here's a delivery, they click it, it was a zip file, which was just ridiculous, but they did it in not knowing, right? Unknowingly, not malicious, of course.
Yep.
And so whatever the software did, it started, corrupting, right, the data. And then it started feeding into the data that was even in their backup, which I think is Dropbox. So we wound up cutting it off, whatever, and then just utilizing an older version or saved version, right? Something like that. Is that what you mean by backup? Yeah.
Yeah. So so the classic approach to backups is you should have 3 copies. So there's the one that you're working with and a backup and then a backup of that backup. OneDrive, if you have Office 365, does a really nice job now by default on Windows backing up your documents in your desktop. And they've also got a version of that. There's a checkbox in the options that does ransomware prevention version. So they kind of lock those off and block pieces off so that you have a better way to get back. So if you say, so it's basically time versioning your backups so that you could say, oh, everything went bad on Tuesday and now I need to get back to a version from Monday afternoon. And you can pull that off of your OneDrive from Microsoft. And then you can spend more and more and more detail and depth on backups, depending really on how important your data is to you as a company, how much of it you have locally or in the cloud. And, mostly your cloud vendors are going to do a pretty good job of doing backups and having, kind of what we call endpoint protection or antivirus protection on that data in the cloud, because they don't want, something to run rampant through their entire cloud stack, right? So it's always a conversation about how much you're concerned and what you want to protect and how much you're willing to, invest in that protection. Like, how much is it going to cost you if you lost, all of your business's data? Is it $1,000 problem or is it a $500,000 problem, right? There's not all answers are the same for every client. So Mickey's got a question.
Yes. So when you just mentioned Office 365, so our company I'm sure I'm using the wrong terminology, but we go through 365 for our company email. So
Right.
do I have to do something in particular to use that OneDrive, or is that an automatic, it's automatically backing it up?
When you first install OneDrive, you have to set up the backup settings. So you have to kind of log in, and it'll go through the steps of like, so if OneDrive is on your computer and it's running, odds are it's backing it up properly. So I can always look with you if you wanted, we could check and I could guide you through it. But it's in the settings part of OneDrive, which is it's a right click on the little blue cloud at the bottom of the computer, and then you can read what's going on. So yeah, pretty much by default, once you turn on OneDrive now, in the last couple of years, it backs up. This is a step that we do with one client when we provision every computer. We go in, we log in as them as the new end user, and we set up the OneDrive for them from the beginning so that it's always, they're there. And that client chooses not how to think about it. They're hard. They're brutal on their approach to backups and devices. So their feeling is, if you lose your computer, anything that's important was backed up in the OneDrive or a cloud service that they use, and we don't care. We're not going to replace it. We're not going to go try to rebuild it. It's gone. If it gets ransomware, it's gone. We're not going to pay for it. It's just toast. And it's kind of cutthroat, but it's kind of really simple set of policies, which is another thing that you want to think about, is policies for how you want your company to treat your data, how you want to respond to an event, and make sure that everybody's aware of the plan of how to respond to an event before an event happens, right? So you kind of what we call tabletopping those responses, right? So you say, okay, so and so the CEO's computer just got ransomware. What do we do? And if everybody already knows the plan and the program, then it's not a big crisis, right? The biggest crisis is when you're sitting there making things up on the fly because you're responding to something that happened. So,
Cheryl, you have a question?
Yes, just a quick question. I had my computer locked up by one of these supposed ransomware people, and I don't know how we did it, but my husband got us unlocked. Can you tell me how we did it so that I can get us unlocked the next time? I mean, there literally was this thing that locked up my screen. I couldn't do anything.
I mean, I'd have to see what actually happened, because it may not have been actual ransomware. So there's maybe you've all have seen it by now. Like, there's a pop-up will come up and it says Windows Defender, and it speaks. Windows Defender says your computer has been attacked. Just call this number to get your computer back, right? And that's actually not an actual event. What that's driving on is fear. And then your response to that is to call this phone number and, give them $100 on the credit card, and then nothing happens, or, whatever. Nothing was bad to begin with. A true ransomware is someone's going to expect you to go buy some volume of, cryptocurrency, and then you have to give that to their wallet and transfer it. And it takes days just to get cryptocurrency, unless you're already in the market, because you've got crypto. But otherwise, it takes forever. Transactions are slow. And then they'll send you a key that you type in and unlocks your computer, right? And then it'll decrypt everything, because that's what it's done, is it's encrypted all of your data with their security key. So the only way to unencrypt it is with their key. But the pop-up ones, we see this more and more and more. It's just that's a browser trick where browsers are allowed to send you notifications. Like, say you were a subscriber to CNN's website, it can sometimes send a pop-up to your website that says breaking news, the Queen is dead. Well, they use that same technique to send these ransomware, or malware alerts to you. And it's really stressful. I was just on a phone call last week with a guy that had it happen to him, and he's like, what's going on? What's going on? My computer's freaking out. My computer's freaking out. I'm like, just give me 2 minutes. And then I can remote into the computer, because that's really cool stuff that we do nowadays. We can remote on, we get on, I poke around and open the browser, change the settings, close it, reopen it, boom, problem gone. So call me if you get one of those.
Oh, I will.
Okay, so if you think you're doing security right, just remember 90% of all breaches in the last year happened through phishing emails. And that's just someone clicking a bad link. And then, at that point, most of your emails probably not really protected. Companies allow computer employees access to almost everything in their organization, unless they've done a really good job working with a person like me to restrict access to the specific people who are allowed to do things, right? And that includes things like, are you allowed to install software on your computer? Because if you are, then you're a risk to the entire organization, because you click a link, maybe nothing obvious happens, but and then a piece of code got installed on your computer in the background, and then it's going to spend the next month looking for opportunities to take advantage of to create a bigger problem for your company, right? So it's a lot of effort, and it gets very annoying from the employees' side of the view, because now they can't do anything, but it's a whole lot safer than trying to find, $1 million in Bitcoin over a weekend to keep your business back online, right?
Are apps that you get at the App Store typically
Yes.
safe?
Typically they are secure, right? Especially like the Apple and the Microsoft ones. Google Play Store is a little less secure.
Okay.
But definitely, if you buy it from a trusted vendor, it should be secure. But if you go to one of these websites with a download link for your FTP tool, or I need the thing that allows me to open AutoCAD files, and you click on a link and it's download now, and it's all kind of weird. Sometimes other things get loaded on your computer at the same time, right? You thought it was legit, now something else is there. And then,
Well, sometimes it's like you want to download an update for the printer file, a printer driver or something like that, right? Oh, I'll go to the printer driver, and then it's like, oh, there's all this other stuff on there, right? I wish I had.
This was something I discovered. My background is in I've been doing IT, like development, websites, management, e-commerce, a bunch of these, kind of IT adjacent spaces. And so it's been a lot of learning for me as well in this last couple of years with this business. But one of the ones that I found is there's a whole market of websites that are fraudulent websites hosting printer drivers. And so you go look for your brother printer driver, and you get to this strange one that's, in Russian or Japanese, or, it's just not the corporate brand website. It's like canonprinterdrivers.com. Don't go there, because that's going to be a file that's going to bring other problems to your computer. So I don't know where we're on time, and I'm just, we're just breezing.
No, this
through
is a
all
good
of this stuff.
discussion. We got about another 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So to think there's like one magic tool that's going to solve everything, and it's not that way. And as you get more and more complex, and as the bad guys get more and more intelligent, we have to keep on adding layers. So this is kind of the Swiss cheese model of security, with the idea being that if you have a bunch of slices of Swiss cheese and you drop something in at the top of the Swiss cheese layer, it's not going to make it all the way through the end, because the holes don't all line up, right? And so, you start with your browsers, having good security on your browsers. Then you start having anti-ransomware on your computer, or you have phishing techniques for your employees to learn, and then it just keeps on going down, right? And if you're in if you're a defense contractor or you're a government agency, these layers are even thicker. And what you have to work with us is to figure out, which of these things are all going to help me solve my problems at my scale. Because someone might say, and I've seen this, is what you need to do is, buy all 8 layers of this, and this is a 10-point employee customer. Well, maybe that's a little overkill, maybe that's expensive, and it's all these measures of costs and risks, right? And I think if anything, 2 years of COVID has taught us is this, how do we balance effort and expenditure against the risk that's really there? Or, if you want to be like China and you want to be an absolutist with COVID zero, well, that's a very expensive policy. Whereas with America, we were, a little bit looser, different sides of that risk relationship. So here's all these ideas and things we want to think about. Endpoint protection. So that's back in the day, we would have called that, the antivirus software on your computer. But endpoint now is a lot more mature, and it does a lot more stuff for your users. And then the ones that we work with that are beyond what you buy at Best Buy or that come with your Dell computer installed allow us to create filters that block content to the site. So if you're a healthcare industry business, you don't want your HIPAA data to get released by the computer accidentally. So we have filters that recognize HIPAA data, PII, and other protected information, and are alerting the system when that data starts to move off of the computer, right? And all of a sudden a ticket shows up in my system, and then we call the customer, we call the end user, and we say, hey, what's going on here? Is there something you don't know about? We can, if you don't want, adult material on employees' computers, we have filters that provide for those controls. I keep on doing the guitar reveal over here.
I saw your guitars in the background. Yeah. That's very funny.
Yeah. So and then adware. So adware is those little pop-ups I was just talking about. Those are typically adware things where it seems like it's okay. You click on it and then something gets loaded on the computer. My dad has done 3 of those in the last 4 years, for example, bless his heart. The third time he's like, I clicked that link again. It was bad. So I just turned the computer off and shut it down. I'm like, hey, Dad, I wish you'd known that before you click the link, but it happens. So yeah, we do a lot of dad support in my company. So, yeah.
Human tricks, is that where you got that slide from? From your dad's experiences, stupid human tricks.
Yeah. The third time around it was hilarious. He's like, I'm on the phone with the guy from Microsoft, and he says I need to pay him $400 right now. And I'm like, no, Dad, no, Dad, no. So, these are all words you hear. So, they're a little tricky nowadays because so many of them, our clients, are remote working. After COVID, I'm going to say it feels like 40% have returned to office, maybe. Most people are still doing remote. I mean, Carrie was saying that they work from home a day a week at the chamber. I know multiple businesses that do multiple days or still haven't returned home. So a VPN was really handy when you had a firewall that protected everything inside the office, and you had a file server, and you had all these things on premise that you needed to get to. So you used a VPN to control how you got onto those sites. Now, if you're in the cloud, you don't really need it that much because you've got a layer of security up on your cloud services. So they just kind of slow you down. But if you're in a coffee shop and you're logging on to corporate assets, you should use a VPN because that'll hide that traffic from the coffee shop Wi-Fi, which is, maybe classically not very secure, not very well protected. Airport Wi-Fi, the same thing. So firewalls work with VPN. So the VPN basically lets you through the firewall to get to your network in the building. As I said, if you don't have a lot in your building anymore, firewalls aren't as crucial a security element anymore. And it all ends up being the most crucial things are your people and making sure that they don't click on those, 90% of links, right? 90% of breaches are from clicking on an email. So you've gone and you bought a $10,000 firewall, and you've got a $1,000 of hardware to support all this stuff, and you've got endpoint security and all of these things going on, and still your stupid humans are clicking on links. So at the end of the day, the biggest bang for the buck is going to be training people, working with them, making sure they understand the things and the patterns. And because the patterns keep changing, you have to keep on working on your training. Next up, multi-factor authentication. Hopefully everybody's got everything that's important in their lives protected with a multi-factor tool. And if you don't, get one. So like your banks, typically at this point, you have to enter a PIN with the card, or if you log onto your bank account, you typically have to do a text message to your phone, or you have an app down on your phone. If you're using Microsoft 365 or Google, both of those email systems have really good multi-factor tools built into them. If you're an industry that's using an older, like software as a service line of business tool set that also provides email, often those don't do a good multi-factor tool set, and you might want to look to your provider. And I know that, like for the insurance industry, they have a set of tools that provide line of business, accounting, customer management system, content management system, and then email. And then that email is not two-factorable because they can't support that. That's a flaw. And so you may need to look to your vendor and ask them if they can either, what's their timetable for MFA for your email, or is it realistic for you to leave them and go to a provider that can protect you and that has your best interests out there, right? So I know it's an annoyance to use, and a lot of people give us pushback when we try to move them to multi-factor management of their emails, but it basically, what that does is, even if someone has your email address and your password, they still have to get to your phone to be able to get logged into your account, right? And good multi-factor systems also they don't necessarily check all the time, but they look for behavior that's not normal. So if you're always logging into your email in Vienna, and all of a sudden one day you're asking to log into your email from Venice, Italy, the system's going to shut you out unless you've already said, oh, not only do I go to Vienna, Virginia, but sometimes I'm in Venice, Italy. Okay, we know that that's behavior that's in the realm. It's very aggravating at first for some users, but I don't have a lot of sympathy, because I'm basically hitting, because all of our clients, all of our accounts on our admin accounts on all of our clients' sites are two-factored. So me and my staff and I are hitting two-factor prompts pretty much, 10, 20 times a day, just all day long. And that's just the way it is. And so the thing you want to, what we do though is, if I see a prompt come up that I didn't start, I won't approve it. And that's the same you should do, because that's someone trying to see if they can get into your multi-factor system. And maybe, there was a hack. So the Uber one last month, where they broke into Uber's accounts, ended up stealing a whole bunch of corporate data, a whole bunch of corporate information, code, a bunch of stuff that helps Uber run on a daily basis. That started with a kid got somebody's email address, had the password, and then just prompted them to accept the multi-factor. They just kept on prompting. And the guy was good. He kept on refusing to. But the hacker had figured out how to get into their Slack accounts, I think it was, and sent the person a message saying that they were from the IT department and they were testing a thing. Would he please approve this multi-factor request? And he did. And then that led to, launching code, putting it in the system, waiting till they figured out, how to get around everything else. So if you get a prompt for multi-factor that you didn't start yourself, don't approve it. Okay. Simple lesson. So what to do if you have been scammed? Call the cops. Call your insurance company.
They don't care. The cops say, "We've
cops-
got so much of this, we don't care."
Yeah, I know, but it helps to just have a file on, a report on record for everybody else. Your insurance company's going to want to know that you've done it. Your bank's going to want to know that you've done it, and then you start gathering documentation and call your insurance agency. And hopefully you have cyber insurance.
Craig, what you got
Because-
your personal pumpkin thing that happened this week, right? $3,500 or something.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. So here's I don't know. This is not my fault, but this is a true story. I looked at my bank account, my business bank account, yesterday, and there was $3,500 in pumpkins that had been ordered on my behalf from a company in Florida. And so I'm like, well, I definitely did not order pumpkins, and no one sent me a shipping notice on these pumpkins. And what they've done is it was 4 transactions, like $650, $850, $750, all these like lower numbers. Apparently, $1,000 or less is not going to file a police report against it, but they will take the money. So I called the bank. Bank said, yes, this is a thing. We know it's happened. It was my debit card. And so she asked, did you file a report? And I was like, not yet. Should I? And she says, well, I have to ask you if you have or not. But in this case, don't worry about it. So, at least you have that conversation so you know what's going on, right? And so these are cybersecurity insurance. Who's got it? I've got it. You have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not super expensive, and it's going to get more expensive over time because of that 90% back there, right? They paid a lot of money in ransomware over the last 2 years through insurance agencies, and now they're going to be tightening up their relationship with their underwriters and their customers because they don't like being, having to go find this money either. So there's a whole list of questions. There's a whole audit process that gets run through for cybersecurity insurance, and we help customers fill those out all the time. And, one of the big hits are going to be, do you have multi-factor authentication? Same stuff. Do you have a phishing program to teach your employees not to click links? Do you work with an agency like myself to keep your computers up to date? Or do you have a program internally to keep your computers up to date? Because all of those little updates, they aren't just for annoyance. It's because someone's figured out a new bug in Windows to take advantage of. And they work on them really quickly, right? That's what they're called 0-day, because they're brand new. And then the hackers will write little pieces of code to take advantage of that 0-day exploit as fast as they can before the patch cycle comes out, which is typically once a month, and updates and protects again. So do you have requirements for passwords? Do you have, a password locker system? Do you have a recovery plan if you are hacked? You have a backup data system, right? These are simple questions, and they aren't necessarily expensive problems to solve, but they do need to be thought through, right? So I have a very tiny, small nonprofit client that we put together a really nice set of exclusions, policies, backup and recovery plan, disaster recovery plan. It's a very nice little program for them in case if something comes up. And because they're a nonprofit, they go to donors asking for, nice sized checks to support their nonprofit. And those donors want to have a sense of security that money's not just going to walk out the back door of the bank one day, right? So it's important at almost all levels of businesses at this point.
So Craig, this list, if you say no to any of them, they deny you. Is that it? Or you have to put it in place?
Or they'll change your rate, right? So you can get, okay, because they're in the business of, managing risk.
Of course.
So they have spreadsheets that say, well, okay, if you're a company of this size and you don't have a password requirements, then that's the cost of that risk is X, right?
Okay.
So what you want to be able to do is successfully apply as many of these requirements to your business when you go to your audit process, and then that'll lower your cybersecurity insurance rates.
Sure.
In theory, you're a lower risk. Okay. And then that's back to like sort of I just was talking about the nonprofit. If you do have cybersecurity insurance, that proves that you've done a really good job to your clients of making sure that you're protecting your business and you're protecting their business, in conjunction. If they're giving you money, they know that you're not going to lose that money, right? If you're an investment management firm, you really need to have all of this stuff buttoned up because it would be, be a big problem, right? If you're a firm that, I have a firm that client that's an investment fund that buys assets with that fund, right? And then they turn profits for their investors. Well, all of their investors have driven, very high demands on them for their cybersecurity, protections. And so we've got a really tight audit with the investors of this is how we're doing it, and this is the proof, and this is the proof, and this is the proof, and that made them happy enough to write a large check. So it will help your company grow. It will help you stay in business, and gives you more strength. So right. So wouldn't they feel more secure if your data is secure? So kind of we're getting to the wrap up point. The guys out there on the other side are very smart, and they're working very hard, and they're playing a numbers game. Just like, as I was kind of saying, the metaphor, I play a numbers game trying to find more business. These guys play a numbers game trying to find more business as well, right? There's no, secrets. There's no hidden mysteries here. It's just effort, and plugging along, right? We cannot guarantee that you will ever be 100% guaranteed secure. And you can't just set it once and forget it. So you got to keep on working. You got to keep on working. And you're always going to want to actively manage it. And you're going to have conversations with us about what's going on. What do we need to do? And then, every day, the best thing we can do is our best good faith effort to do the best that we can. And then that's what we provide to you. And then that's what you provide to your clients. And that's what you would provide to your underwriters. And as long as we're all working at our best, at least it won't be disasters, because disasters are ugly. So we're going to throw that. We're delivering on the 5 steps. So 1, set strong passwords. Then keep so that's, every single site should have a new password. Don't use the same ones. Don't use patterns, right? So I can't tell you how many times I do a dark web ID scan for what information is known about a potential client or a prospect or a customer on the dark web of released data. And they'll all be like using their same football team, like go Skins, go Skins, go Skins as a password. I mean, you can just see it, right? And so all that takes is what's important about that is those patterns can then be applied to an account that they may not know about, right? So it may not be that, your corporate QuickBooks online account hasn't been released, but they do know that your email address is shaped like this, and you often use Go Skins as your password. So let's see what happens if we try using that to log into your QuickBooks account. It may not have been released, but now it is. Okay, right? So that's why you have to use these patterns. And then use a password manager. Let it generate the passwords, and don't ever bother with trying to create them yourselves. Because here's what's going to happen. When you try to create passwords, you're going to fall back on patterns. But if you use a tool like 1Password or LastPass, or there's a whole bunch out there, let it generate the passwords. I use the ones that create long word looking things. So splatterfight your diction is a password for a thing, maybe, right? It's a gibberish word. There's a famous cartoon about XKCD purple pony. Do you know what it is, Vladimir? The XKCD purple battery pony or something, right? It's a word that does not make any sense. No one's ever going to really be able to hack it without like just throwing, thousands of words, dictionary attacks. and most systems will lock you out before you get to them. So, but find a system that works for you, use it reliably.
You said LastPass. What was the other one?
I love 1Password.
What's it called?
And then 1Password. And so the idea with 1Password is you have a vault, it's all encrypted and secured. They keep it on the cloud. They used to keep it on Dropbox, but they decided that Dropbox was not a reliable partner for this. And then you have one complex password to memorize. And if you lose it, you're in a very bad space. But, you know.
Hey, Craig, what
So
do you know about Dashlane? Is that a good one?
Yep. I mean, they're all, there's a bunch of, there's YouTubes on reviews of the best password keepers. It depends on what you want and what you need and, how much you're willing to pay for the service. I'm paying,
Yeah, I
pay. Yeah, I have another client that uses Bitwarden. As long as you have something, use it and keep it in there, and then don't stray from that process.
Well, I think you also recommended to me once, Craig, to pay rather than get the free one because you're going to get better protection, and you're paying for someone who's doing something really useful for you. So
and then they've got a support channel that will help you solve problems, right? So the free ones are, I'm trying to think which one was that. Was it LastPass? KeepPass? Their free version turned out
free for multiple devices for some time, and they changed it to allow only one device to be free.
Yeah, and it turned out when the free version was a little shady about what they were doing with your data. So you don't want, in this space, you don't want your security partners, taking advantage of your data. So like if there's there's a free VPN service. Well, classically, those guys are collecting that data and using it for some purpose in the future. You don't know what, but you don't know what, and that's the whole problem. So Mickey found out you need to keep your computers up to date because the longer you wait, the longer it'll take to update your computer. And once you get on a regular cycle, then they just kind of roll over and it's easy. And it's annoying, I know, because we'll set up a new computer for a client that's been sitting on a shelf for 4 or 5 months, and we'll be sitting for a couple of hours. It feels like waiting for it to get itself up to date. But once you're on a cycle of up to dateness, then it goes much smoother. And then that's for everything. So Zoom, for example, there's an exploit on Zoom floating around apparently. So update your Zoom app, keep it up to date, let it update itself automatically. There's no problem. Use multi-factor wherever you can. So different tools, however they work for you, they're all good. They're better than not. Find a way to back up what you can. Either have a hard drive plugged into the back of your computer, use OneDrive, as I said. There's cloud services that you can buy. We provide, if you're on a Mac and OneDrive doesn't really work, then you've got the Time Machine backups, or there's cloud services that work with the Macintoshes. So there's multiple ways to solve that problem. Hard drives will fail, and Vladimir, I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen it. They just die.
We have a data recovery service, by the way. So if your hard drive dies, come to us. We'll get the data, but it costs like $1,000 and up.
Yeah. And sometimes they can't get it, right? So if your hard drive, here's a tip. If your hard drive crashes, stop the computer, don't mess with it again, right? Take it to a guy. If it's important to you, take it to Vladimir. I was working with a data recovery firm as well for a while. I've kind of backed off from that side of the business, but don't run that drive, because that if it is a spinning hard drive and it's crashing, trying to get it to do something will only make it worse. So turn the computer off, take it to somebody and say, solve this for me, please now. Right. And they will die. It's just, that is the guaranteed thing about drives. They will die. Even the solid state ones, they will die. So make sure that you have a backup, have a plan to get a new computer every couple of years, because they will die. Did I say that often enough? They will die.
And flash drives. Don't do backups on flash drives.
Yep.
Eric, I have another question for you. When you mentioned updating all your apps, like if I restart my computer frequently, will that make any updates that are available, or do I have to go specifically and look for updates?
It depends on how your computer's set up. So get familiar on Windows, get familiar with the updates tab and system settings and understand what it's trying to tell you. So it'll say if you have updates that are required right now. If you work with a vendor like me, it may be that your updates are managed and that you can't do them yourself, but then at least you know that it's taken care of, right? But go look at that screen, look at that tab. It'll tell you if there's stuff that needs to be done. Then there's even another one that's on that same screen that's like what they call optional updates. And that'll be things like drivers for your audio card or your video card or microphones, different things. Check those to see if they need to be updated. Dell laptops are really, they have a system backup, which is called the BIOS. And I found in a lot of cases that keeping that BIOS up to date on Dell laptops is a huge factor in keeping your computer working reliably. We'll see things like can't use the video camera. It suddenly stopped working. And that'll because the BIOS updates or the firmware updates need to be run on the Dells. So they're great. I love Dells. And then the last one, keep on learning, right? We just don't get to sit on our laurels anymore. And that's just a drag, but that's just the state of the world, right? And I think if you look at what is going on in your business, you don't get to do your business this year like you did in, 2002, right? I don't even think you get to do your business like you did in 2019 anymore. It's just, it keeps changing and everything is going to keep on changing. And this world moves very quickly. So, subscribe to a service for training and testing if you can find one. We offer fish testing for all of our clients. That's just kind of like, if you want it, we'll give it to you. And then what that does is sends out a program of emails that look suspicious or look legitimate. And we see if people click on them. And if they click on them, it leads to typically leads to like a 3-page lesson on what to understand about what you did wrong here, right? You can certainly get stiffer with that and have every person who clicked on the link get reported to HR and go in their permanent record, but that's not a good idea in my space because you want to encourage people to learn. And if you put it in their permanent record and you made a mark against them, they might just not do anything. And that might not be what you want, right?
Well, I'm glad that we all took the time today to learn and pick up a few things. Do you have a next slide about your contact info, Craig? Because I want to make.
Do.
Oh, wow. Perfect. Very, very good.
Yeah. Did you learn something? Are you going to do something about it?
Yes. Everyone.
So,
yes.
There's me. And if you send me an email, I want to show you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Show this
do this
one.
real quickly.
He did this for me the other day. I was like, oh, what's James doing? You guys, we are a little bit over time, but this is meant to be interactive and ask the expert. Because so if you've got questions, but if you've got to go, if you wouldn't mind in the chat, I did click a link. It's safe to our Google form. We'd love to just get your feedback. So if you click it now, you can fill it in later. I just want to make sure you have that link.
Okay, so
this
is dark web live data search, and I'll be glad to provide one of these to anybody who asks for me. Send me an email. So this is my domain name, my personal domain name at CMACG, and we do this search. Basically, this is everybody's out there somewhere. Ooh, got a recent one. So
what's CMAC? What is that?
So Craig McIntosh Green is my name.
Okay.
So CMACG. So this one is a pattern that I used to use in the past. It's no longer used. So
well,
there
it's
you
like
go.
2019. That's not too long.
Yeah. Well, just because I stopped using that pattern for passwords doesn't mean that someone didn't find it way back on the way back, right? These are all encrypted passwords, which is great. And I don't know what this means here, but it's just interesting. So there's a pattern for a domain name email that could be useful for someone if they're trying to figure things out. This is a very small business, so there's really, not many name options for them to check on. But if I look at a different customer, you know, with 100 employees or something, you'll see a lot of information.
Where they all think that there's no, oh no, we've got to secure, we're clean.
Right. No, there's no such thing. And then what
I
we
don't
can
want to throw
do,
like Northwest Federal in there. Probably not. I'm sure that they're secure.
see
But it is
here,
Definitely secure.
yeah.
Yeah.
so this
We
is a client of,
actually have
this is a client that we're protecting their data or reporting on their data searches every month. So they're monitored with the dark web data. So it's sort of like the same thing that your credit card company will do you with experience thing, or have I, you know, been pwned is a site. Basically, this sends us an email that says, oh, you know, a new email address has been found on the dark web. You might want to respond to it. And classically for us, the best thing we can do is make sure that the password for that email address is changed. Right. Don't use a business email address for a personal service like booze orders or you know, clothing stores, shoes. Don't use business, don't cross business and personal email and uses, because a lot of those personal sites get hacked a lot quicker. And then now someone has, again, a domain, an email address pattern that they can use against you and your firm in another angle later. So
Those are great tips. Anything else from anybody? I've put Craig your information in there. Put that screen back up in case anyone wants to take a screenshot. I want to make sure that everyone's got that dark web thing. Yeah, he threw our Impact Biz LLC. I think that's what you threw in there. Dark web.
Yeah.
We had a couple of yeah.
You guys weren't too crazy.
We weren't that crazy, but you
Yeah,
know,
not too crazy.
I know we're small, but
Yeah.
that's, you know.
Yeah, I've got a side story about that. So I have a prospect that I'm trying to get a hold of, and they work with another one of my clients. So I go to my client and I said, hey, would you do an introduction to these people for me? And she goes, oh, they hire all the best tech talent. They're not going to want to work with you. They're really good. They're covered. I'm like, well, that hurt my feelings, but okay. So then just when I was having this conversation with Angela, we went and checked them out on that dark web ID scan, and oh my goodness, the stuff we found there. So I'm not so sure about her understanding of their tech talent, and I'm have to get back to another angle to figure out how to get a hold of these people. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever stop the bad guys, but you know, if we can kind of mitigate some of the challenges.
I mean, I don't know where everybody else is on cryptocurrency. I'm a huge crypto skeptic, and there's plenty of proof to be shown that the boom in ransomware and the growth in Bitcoin's price and value are pretty much linear. It's you know, an R value of 1 if you do regression analysis on these things, and that's because it's a whole lot harder to track illegal money through the Bitcoin chains than it is through banking, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, do it. If you feel like you need to grow some wealth fast and slow, go for the crypto. But just to me, it's part of the problem that this created another problem for us in this industry. You know, it's an opportunity. Sure, we can sell you a whole lot more security at a whole lot level. You know, that's what's crazy about this, right? This is, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, this business was wholly focused on just keeping computers up to date. That was our biggest focus. You know, I can't get to the printer and my Windows software is 6 months out of date. That's what we did all day long. You know, keep your internal networks running. And now it's more and more backup, data retention, endpoint security, cybersecurity at all levels of businesses. You just can't not have it anymore. So,
any other questions from the group?
I have a question, Craig. Do you have like a newsletter that you send out with like frequent tips and information?
Oh no, hold on. So yeah, we have like a monthly newsletter that we send out. And then I'm kind of busy on LinkedIn. So you can find me at CMACG on LinkedIn. Should have put that in there.
So actually, Craig, I'm realizing you say, send me an email, but there's no email address right here.
I put it
So
in
busted.
the chat.
Cool.
It's in the chat.
Yes.
Nikki, did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
So I was gonna, all right, so.
So yeah,
Hold on.
I put all his
Green
contact. C Green at. Yeah, it should be in the chat, Ola. But yeah, you're right. It's not in the slide.
IT.com.
Where is this?
He's more techie than he is marketing.
That's right.
There are a couple other people who have not put any information into the chat. One is Vlad and the other is Carrie. I'd love to know who you are.
So Carrie works with the chamber. She's our staff liaison, Carrie Pulliam, who I know she had a 9:30 meeting, so she may have stepped away.
Okay.
Vladimir. Yeah, so good. It's good to see Vladimir. He's been an active member for a number of years and is getting re-engaged at the chamber. So good to see Vladimir. He will.
Where is my, so I've got where is it?
I put it in the chat. Don't worry about it. Just update that slide for the future. Cheryl, Assistance League. So Cheryl's a new member. So welcome. We want to welcome you as well. I didn't see you last night at Net Night, but we did announce you guys as being new members. So were you there?
Thank you. I was a little tired last night.
Okay.
So I kind of took a breather.
No, you're allowed. You're allowed.
I am. Okay. This is a very good thing. May I tell you what we do, or would you like rather not?
Sure. Absolutely.
What we do is we feed, clothe, comfort, and help to educate close to 2,000 children in Title I schools in Fairfax County, Prince William County, and the city of Manassas. We also tutor in one other school and I cannot give names of schools. I'm sorry. I have been forbidden. So that's just the description of the schools. And we're having a coat drive right now. So if you want more about that, please reach out to me and I'll tell you that what we need, or should I just tell you now?
Actually, just if I could, because we're already over time. It's 10 of. I appreciate it, Cheryl. I just wanted you to be welcome, of course, and be aware your ambassador will be reaching out, if not already. I believe, is it Alicia? I thought so. I was like, I think it's Alicia.
We know each other.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, she's obviously fabulous, but we'll take advantage of some of the great resources that the chamber has. Particularly events, put them on the calendar, any kind of deals, but yeah, marketing, social media, tag the chamber. They'll also help some of that initiative and work that you're doing. So please do that. Any other questions for I would like to thank Craig. Great job, Mr. Green. Thank you. Very knowledgeable, very engaging. And again, this is recorded, so we'll be sharing it all over the world and making sure that people are stopping doing.
I put my information in the chat link as well.
Yeah, thank you. And you guys, if you're not aware, when you go into the chat, just click those 3 buttons to the right, 3 dots to the right, and you can save the chat. So all of our information is there. It saves somewhere on your computer. You'll see it once you hang up. It's saved somewhere. I forget exactly
somewhere,
but it's Zooms. And then
it's going to be somewhere in your documents folder.
Yeah, documents, Zoom, chat, Windows, something like that. Yeah. Anywho, but if there's anyone on the call or in the organization that you wish to meet, do not hesitate to reach out to us. So great. So nothing further if no one's got anything. Like I said, I think Carrie had to run. I wish everybody a good day. Craig, I hope to see you as a guest of mine at our lead share this.
Oh, good.
An hour and a half. Yeah.
11:30. Yeah. It's a full day here at the chamber. We do have a great group, but the organization, like I said, there's a lot to do, and you guys saw all the upcoming events. But anything else from anyone? I want to wrap up.
I think Carrie wanted you to highlight Net Night. Or no, not Tinsel and Teenies.
Oh yeah, so we did.
Christmas
We don't have an official location, but December 1st, put it on your calendar for our holiday party. So we won't have a Net Night in December. We usually have a holiday party, and it's formerly Tinsel and Teenies. It's called Jingle Mingle, whatever, but it's an event. It'll be probably 6 to 9, and we're confirming the location as we speak. So heads up on that.
I think the signature drink should be Jingle Teenies.
Jingle Teenies. don't know. They had an issue with, and I know we're being recorded, so I'll be nice. But I know there was an issue with having like more teeny. I'm like, I don't know. It's teenies. It's just, it's fun. It's drinks. Anyway. But it is, just so you guys know, it's the Chamber's 40th anniversary
Oh, wow.
as a business. Yep. So officially, I think they got started in November. So we are kicking off our 40th year celebration at our holiday party. So we'll be doing events throughout next year that focus on, again, celebrating our 40 years. So
let's all grow our business 40% in the 40th
I'm in.
year.
I like that. That's gonna be my my theme for 2023 as the incoming chair. I like that, Craig. That's good. You will be my ambassador for that. All right,
That would be my
family,
goal.
friends. Are we
All
good?
right.
Are we good? Are we out?
Okay.
We are.
Thanks so much, Craig.
Yep.
Thanks, Craig.
My
It was
pleasure,
really
everybody.
informative and helpful. And I think I'm going to let you look at my computer.
Okay. Woohoo!
Well, Craig, how you work mostly right by seat. Is it from an organization standpoint? Is that how people pay you?
Yeah. So yeah, the classic model is by seat per month. But we certainly do one-off work for friends and family kind of stuff. And
Nonprofit.
depending on the scope of the issue is, it might be like, look, it's better that your single computer is in good shape.
Yeah.
Versus me, trying to argue over, a bill with you, right? Or trying to, extract cash out of you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So the guy, like that story, the guy last week who had the pop up from the Microsoft Defender. I was like, hey, look, man, let's just take care of it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I just want you to be happy. I don't want you to get hacked, and maybe you'll remember me when an opportunity comes your way.
And it happens, as we all know, right?
Right.
It's pay it
Mhm.
forward, giving back, and we all know how
Right.
well that works, particularly at the chamber. And when you go up to the pearly gates, right? The guy's gonna be like, Craig, come on in.
Dude, nah, you can't come in. You were a jerk about all those jacuzzis. No.
All right.
All
Y'all
right,
have a
guys.
great day. Gotta run.
Hey, y'all. Have
See you
fun.
later. Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you,
Thanks,
Vladimir.
Angela.
Yeah, my pleasure. We'll get I'll work with Carrie and get
See ya.
this the recording, and then we'll send it out. Take care, Vladimir. Good to see you.
Bye.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. Okay.
Good. Yeah, no, I'm not I think when we hang up, she never gave me host rights, so we'll just edit this out. But anyway, good job. Much appreciated. And if you can make it at 11:30, it'd be great. I mean, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but if you've got the time
No,
to do it, it's a good group.
it's currently penciled in. Yes, I'll try to make that one.
Okay,
so.
cool. All right, cheers. See you later.
All right. Take care now. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.